Let's look at the text.
You don't see the email. Well, let me tell you. This is the 104th episode of Seddy Bimco. Part 2, The Revenge. I stole your thunder. I tricked you. And this week we're going to watch 1984's What Waits Below, chosen by George.
Yep. Okay. Representing as we embark on season 3, the great state of Alabama. For 50 nifty United States, we're going to do a regional film from each one of them. This is Alabama's turn up at bat.
We're pretty sure there are some good people in Alabama. So hello to them. Oh, George, but the age-old question before the song starts.
Yeah.
Did Frankenstein's monster, this is the monster.
The monster, not Frankenstein himself.
No. Did he ever get revenge on his boss at the advertising agency? You already laughing, see?
You can't stop laughing already.
No, you're making me laugh.
Why? I'm just listening wrapped in attention.
Frankenstein's monster ever get revenge on his boss at the advertising agency for creating Bagels and Tiki Torch Fridays. No, still not good. It's almost as bad as Angry Villager Mondays. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what the problem with that joke is that Tiki Torches are now associated with white nationalists.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We'll cut that out.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The premier podcast for making revenge stories for movies that never had them. Right, George?
America's premier revenge-themed podcast, yes. Every week, we like to share a lighthearted revenge story we gleaned from the news. Tim, were you able to find any lighthearted revenge stories?
No, not this week.
Not me either.
That happens once every 6 episodes.
About that, yeah, because it turns out, folks, revenge is not normally a fun affair like we make it seem.
And also, when we watch this movie every week, we pick a number out of a jar.
And what do we do with this number, Tim?
Ourselves what character from this movie would be most likely to do something.
This number corresponds to a pre-written list. We may ad-lib this on the spot. And this number is, this week?
27.
And number 27 on the master list is?
Oh, that's right. I have it.
Yeah.
Who from this movie is most likely to dance with bears in Kazakhstan?
Of course, we're going...
international.
Going international since we're going so national for our movies. Question, Tim. Does Kazakhstan have bears?
Oh, I think that's where you go to the circus and watch men dance with them. Pretty sure.
Okay. Why does it gotta be men?
Or women. Yeah, traditionally, men dance with bears.
That sounds like it's very sexist.
It probably is.
I can just picture a Kazakh comedian being like, let me tell you, my wife is a real bear. I can barely stand her. She's unbearable. Henny Youngman applauds from the audience.
Kazakhstan. Henny Youngman, I was about to say.
Yep.
Henny Youngman.
Henny. I like Heli. That's the Kazakh version. I don't know if Kazakh is what. So first off, I'm not even sure if Kazakhstan is it Kazakhstan. I don't know. I'm making up places. So. Being a real ugly American right here.
Wow.
What better way to celebrate Seddy Bimco's national tour than by being an ugly American?
Yeah, we're so popular in France.
By the way, yeah, I was about to say hi, French listeners, and hi, Australian listeners too.
Yeah, our highest foreign audiences.
Yeah, I think you enjoy the fact that we're such ugly Americans, and
right.
I don't think we're going to disappoint you in this episode.
You love our French accents.
I don't think we've ever actually done a French accent. I'm sorry. I've definitely done Gambit on this show once or twice. It's more of a French New Orleans accent, but
it is. So yeah, I'm so excited because this episode going to be amazing.
Wait, why?
It's going to be amazing. I just have that feeling.
You just have this feeling.
Also, 100-year-old Texar McGillicuddy, who writes for the show, he told me he's catching up on comedy. He saw some episodes of I Love Lucy. It's opened his eyes.
I hate it.
To some new things he's going to do with comedy.
Those of you who are not stepped in the lore of
Lucy?
Seddy Bimco, when Tim floats a particularly bad stinker joke, it's often written by ex-Borscht Bill comedian Texar McGillicuddy. Never actually seen this guy. I think he hangs out with Mark Twain down at the park a lot. They feed pigeons. Yeah, trading witticisms. And Tim, you join them and just jot this down. You're like, yeah, this stuff is gold.
It is. I am excited. So excited.
Are you excited because of the caliber of this movie?
Oh, yes, I love this movie.
Should we just start talking about the movie? I have a lot of facts. Yeah, before we get into the plot of the movie, I want to just introduce it. So as Tim said up front, this is 1984's What Waits Below, which is a pretty cool title, although apparently it had a limited theatrical release before that under the name Secrets of the Phantom Caverns, which is definitely not as cool a title.
No.
Now, I do feel like something we've had to work into this new season of Seddy Bimco is justifying how we represent this as coming from a certain state. Because a lot of times movies will be filmed in more than one state. Unfortunately, What Waits Below is one of those.
Right.
Some of the scenes were filmed at Cumberland Canyon. Some of the scenes were filmed at Cumberland Canyons, which is in Tennessee.
Oh.
I should mention, before we get too much into this entirety of this film is filmed in actual caverns. It's pretty cool looking, honestly. Some really great spots.
Yeah.
There was also stuff filmed at Cathedral Canyons in Alabama, and then the whole outside part when they're in quote unquote Nicaragua, that's all Alabama. Okay. That pushes us over the limit into the Alabama territory. Yep. I really
squeezed
did.
this one in.
No, this one is actually pretty clearly because there's another incident that happened, probably the most famous incident related to this movie in Alabama. While filming at the Cathedral Caverns. Guys.
Yeah, they're not canyons. They're
While
caverns.
Filming at Cathedral Caverns, because this entire movie was filmed inside, there was a lot of light rigging and stuff like this. They had these large fans set up that would kind of blow the bad air created by the generator out. And apparently somebody who was filming decided that was too disruptive to the filming process. They turned it off. And at some point, people began noticing that they were becoming very woozy and there was problems. Mass carbon dioxide poisoning.
Yes, I read that too. Like,
yeah.
That's the most famous event in Alabama, George.
No, in this movie's history. This is why this movie.
This movie's history.
If you read about this movie, it's basically because of this event. 70 people had to be rushed to the hospital.
Yeah.
The accounts vary between 14 and 17 were hospitalized overnight, including the director, Dan Sharp. Nobody died, luckily, because we wouldn't be able to make fun of it if anybody died.
No.
But I did find some accounts written by people who played some of the smaller parts in here, talking about how it was a real panic once people realized what was starting to happen. They were deep inside the caverns. They were putting people on little tiny golf carts they used to transport them. They weren't going fast enough, so people were like literally passing out as they were driving.
Oh, no. No. Sorry,
about this movie, director Dan Sharp, who is of Australian descent, he said, and I quote, "It wasn't very good. It wasn't a very good cast." Furthermore, he told the producers that he felt it was terrible, and he actually left after shooting without editing it. He's like, "I'm done." And so the movie was put together. There was a lot of problems. He felt like he wasn't supported budgetarily. It's a very interesting take.
He's blaming the actors, though. Come on.
I thought blaming the actors was pretty bad because while I do have a lot of problems with this movie, I feel like the performances turned in were pretty good. Like this movie, I'll just say right now, this movie starts off what I would consider very strong for a Seddy Bimco film. Really good premise, and some of the execution is pretty piss poor towards the end.
I'd say the beginning, I was like, I have no idea what was going on at the beginning for quite a while.
Oh, the very beginning, definitely are you're thrust into this film without a clue what's going on. We'll get to that shortly. Let's see. So that's stuff I wanted to share about the general making of the film. Tim, was there anything you wanted to add?
I pointed this out to you, but Christy Marks, you know who she is? She wrote this movie.
She did some writing for some Marvel cartoons, as near as I could tell.
And also the comic series known as Sisterhood of the Sword from Epic Comics.
Really?
She wrote that whole thing. My friend used to read it. You probably don't know it.
Was that the one? Was that drawn by John Bolton? No, that was Murata the She-Wolf.
No, it was drawn by the guy who drew She-Hulk. What's his name? The first She-Hulk.
Vince. Frank
Springer?
Springer?
No. Anyway,
Mike
Christy
Glasberg.
Marks. Yes. Christy Marks. She wrote, Gem, Teenage Ninja Mutants on TV, and some comic books.
Biker Mice from Mars. I think she wrote some episodes of G.I. Joe, Knowing's Half the Battle.
Yep.
Yeah, an accomplished TV writer. And really, there's some interesting concepts floated here, which I'll get to, because I kind of liked this film.
It was like from the 50s. That's why I was.
It did seem like it was 1984. That was what was hilarious about it.
They beat a foreign race. Just first instinct is to kill them.
We also sometimes share a little bit of facts about the state that owns the claims ownership to this film. I have a few facts about Alabama. Would you like to hear them, Tim?
Yeah, because I got some.
All right. So the first elevator in Alabama, as near as I could tell, was installed in September 6, 1921. At the First National Bank in a town called downtown Andalusia. Seems like it snuck by over Montgomery and some of the other bigger cities. Notable, right?
That is.
Couldn't 100% confirm this is the first elevator, but in historicalelevators.com, this was the earliest account I could find. The streetcar system, however, the first streetcar system in Alabama was introduced in Montgomery. It was called the Lightning Route. And that was that had its inauguration, its first day, April 15th, 1886.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah.
The Lightning Route. That sounds like a drink. The Lightning Route.
It does. We should make, when we have our first Seddy Bimco join up and we do a specific, actually, I'm going to say this right here. Folks, we're planning our first meetup. And Tim and I have vowed we're going to take a drink for every episode of Seddy Bimco.
Okay.
At least that we appear on. I don't have to appear as many as Tim. Tim's going to be an alcoholic coma. But we will make the drink for this episode the Lightning Route in honor of what waits below.
How about that many sips?
Nope, it's got to be the whole drink.
Well, their flag is a big red X, by the way.
Okay. It's in Alabama?
Yes. It's basically based on the Confederate design. They just took out the stars and the blue. It's just a big red X.
Alabama, come on. Be better.
Frozen embryos are considered children in Alabama. I don't know if you heard about that.
Oh, we're getting topical.
Jeez. Okay, well, I'll stop. That's all I got.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. And so, folks, basically now you have enough material to write your own report on the great state of Alabama.
Yeah, kids.
Yep. Let's start talking about the movie.
Just credit us in your book report.
Just credit Seddy Bimco in your abstract.
Oh, one more fact. Robert Powell, he's the hero of our movie, the actor.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He played Jesus in 1977. Is that what you're going to tell me?
I was going to try to mention at some point. I kept thinking, I should mention that he played Jesus in some movie.
Yeah.
I found
I
Tim,
it.
and I want to recommend this
I just ruined your Jesus joke, didn't I?
No. I want to recommend instead that people, while researching this movie, and I did quite a bit of research behind the scenes, I found a sweet website for anybody who's a big fan of Robert Powell called Powellissimo. You can find it at powellissimo.blogspot.com.
Shout out to them.
Powellissimo, or being a Robert Powell fan. Welcome to the blog about the great actor Robert Powell.
That's run by George in his spare time.
I'm giving a shout out to my other online endeavor. So, okay. So the movie, What Waits Below, also known as The Secrets of the Phantom Caverns, but What Waits Below is awesome name. Opens up with a view of Goliath the stalagmite.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is an actual stalagmite in the cathedral caverns in Alabama. It is believed to be, they give us a history of not just mankind, but of the entire planet. The earth was created came into being, because they're not Christians here. The earth came into being 6 billion years ago.
Years old. Goliath, the largest known stalagmite in the world, is over 900,000 years old. Formed drop by drop, it grew at the rate of 1 inch for every 1,250 years, to its present height of 60 feet, or 6 stories.
And at the time, they just give us all this information about how long water, the first drop of water fell down. Do you remember? Do you actually have that written down, Tim?
It was there before Jesus Christ.
It was there before Jesus Christ. Yes, this thing. And we spend all this time speaking, and it's interesting. It gives you a sense, 200 years ago, this stalagmite was only the width of they said, a book cover.
Yeah, or a cigarette. They had some weird.
A cigarette. Metaphor. It was a very weird. Anyway, they just give us this thing showing the incredible slow passage of time and how things change very slowly underground. And then the narrator voice says, "Who knows what other wonders may await in caves undiscovered?" Tim,
like giants Yeah,
I got a fucking list.
Oh, you got a list? Oh, no.
Stop all progress.
I love that. I love to stop all progress.
So the
up.
list is what other wonders may await us in caves undiscovered.
In 1984?
Tim, unfortunately,
anytime?
Anytime. I don't think much has changed. It's as we established that the timeline started 6 billion years ago. I think.
Okay.
All right. Unfortunately, you kind of ruined my first one. I wrote evidence of horned giants waiting to be confiscated by the Smithsonian.
Sorry.
Those of you all, yeah. Tim.
I'm way ahead of you.
We all know that, of course, there were giants in the earth in those days because we are, of course, a strongly Christian podcast. And whenever people uncover evidence of these horned giants, you and you know it, the Smithsonian swoops in and steals away because they can't let us know that.
Nope.
So yeah, there's still caves though.
Secret
they
room.
haven't found them yet. So if you go spelunking and you find a horned giant, write to us at Seddy Bimco with an E at the end at gmail.com. Don't tell the Smithsonian. We want photos.
No, they'll find out.
They're let's see. Also undiscovered in caves, cave paintings showing primitive peoples riding around on unicycles.
Really?
Yeah, that's something
Amazing.
that exists out there. Yeah, right. That will rewrite history as we know it.
They had invented the wheel, but not two wheels.
Nope, just one wheel, and then they forgot. They only used it for unicycles. Let's see. Thousands of unsold copies of the ET Atari game.
Okay. Yeah, that's where they went.
That's where they are. Not in the desert like we thought. A rare original reel of the Zapruder film that shows that Sasquatch was the second shooter.
That would develop. It's literally developed in the caves?
No, it was just found. It's undiscovered in the cave.
Undiscovered, okay.
Yeah, how would the ET game develop? No, this is stuff that's Tim. Not everything that's in these caves originates in the caves, which will speak to the movie. Yep.
Yeah, I want an explanation.
A pale eyeless white worm. There's one cave in specific.
Nice.
Yeah. And finally, the last thing that lays undiscovered in a cave is my precious. There. Now,
good one.
Return you. Thank you.
Can I add one
now
more?
I return this. Yes, good. Yes, Tim.
Collected edition of the Lockhorns. Sorry, I had maybe Boner's Ark, famous comic.
Yes, remember.
Boner's
Folks,
Ark.
for those of you who are confused by this, Lockhorns was a comic strip that ran. It might still run about a sparring couple. They became a bit of a running gag in here, and I felt bad about it, so I requested we switch our comic strip ire onto Boner's Ark.
Okay.
Another comic strip. Look it up. This is good, timely stuff. Listeners are dying laughing for this.
So
after we have this narration talking about Goliath the stalagmite, and we wonder what other things lay undiscovered in caves, a little crawl appears on the bottom of the screen. Somewhere in Nicaragua, the present.
And the credits were crooked, I have to say that. You know how crooked they were?
How crooked were they?
I got no jokes there. They're so crooked.
Oh, that does.
They're so crooked.
Guys. When Tim improvs, it's going to veer into weirdly racist without any meaning to, I'm sure.
It was so crooked. I don't know.
Cut it out.
I got no joke.
Yeah. Don't set up jokes if you don't got follow through, buddy.
I just want to say they were crooked.
So we're looking out over a jungle in Nicaragua, which we know from listening up front, actually Alabama. And there in the foreground is a dashing man with a very tiny little camera taking photos of a bunch of soldiers assembled in a valley below. Like Tim kind of hinted up front, we have no idea what's happening, and we don't know what's happening for quite a long time. We're just like, all right, he's filming these soldiers. If you listen closely, the soldiers, they're not speaking Spanish, but they are speaking with Spanish accents, which to me spoke that they were probably Nicaraguans.
Yeah. So they're not part of the army that we see later. Right?
Well, okay, there's a U.S. Army in this, which our hero. So let's just say, actually, we don't even know what his name is yet at this point.
Oh, it's
another soldier is sneaking up on the man in the tree who's not dressed like a soldier. He's wearing like sneakers and jeans.
He's drinking a Foster's beer.
Is he?
Yes.
Right, he is.
He hands him one, and then a bullet goes through it.
Well, let's say the guy that's sneaking up on him is not an actual soldier. The bad guy is. He is. Yeah. He's our secondary hero, George. He's friends with the main guy we see in the tree, who is Wolf. We haven't learned his name yet because they don't bother telling us this. And George has defeated one of the soldiers below, stolen his outfit, and somehow found his friend taking photos. Like, I can't express what a non-surveillance type camera this is. This is like a 1980s, like Like, this is what your grandma would have had. It was not a good camera. And they're sitting there talking. They drink a Foster's and they're holding the beer. And suddenly, someone shoots the beer. They're like, we've been spotted. And we're treated to like, yeah, because we're being idiots. It is pretty, like, I read this in several sites, and I feel like it bears noting here too. Like, the way they're holding the beer can when the bullet goes through it, like, George definitely should be shot. Yeah. Like the bullet definitely traveled right through this can and blew his hand away. But that's not the sort of movie we're looking at.
I mean, the only film that shows that kind of evidence clear is what, George? Never mind.
I don't know. What?
It was very clear. It's very clear there was more than one shooter when that Foster's can got shot.
Sasquatch. Yep. Good job, Tim. I'm trying to read my own rights.
So they just start running. We have a lot of chasing and shooting each other.
This reminded me very much, and this is such a fun. It reminded me of like the beginning of Predator, where there's a whole action sequence of them in Nicaragua, I think, if I recall correctly, fighting against, the rebels there.
Right.
And we're in kind of like a war movie before we get involved to the big story, the monster story. Spoilers. I use the term loosely, monsters in this film. So George and Wolf are riding around. They're on a Jeep at some point. They're being chased by these presumably Nicaraguan soldiers. They run into an abandoned building that definitely doesn't look like it's in Nicaragua. And they they walk up, and for some reason, Wolf is, by the way, Wolf is Powell, the guy we were talking about, Powell Willissimo.
Yes. He's Wolf Wolfenson.
Wolf.
He's got lots of wolves in his names. I don't know why they didn't go all the way with the wolves, but it's like Robert
Wolfenstein. Yeah.
It was odd.
Robert Wolfenson.
His dad. It was odd because his dad's name was Skywolf Hunter Hawk Zephyr Hawkinson, and that's why he named his son Robert Wolf Wolfenson. Robert Wolf Wolfenson.
Robert Wolf Wolfenson. We should mention up front, he's super British.
Yes.
He's working for the U.S. Army, though. George is speaking with an Australian accent in the beginning.
Yeah.
Hey, Governor. Care for a beer?
And that kind of goes away. And I couldn't decide if he was meant to be Australian.
And they seem to know each other. Sorry.
Yeah, they're definitely buddies. I think personally, George probably was an Australian actor who just hadn't got a hang of a U.S. accent yet. And that's why it kind of disappears. They encounter a bunch of rebels in this like old office block in the middle of the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
They have exploding cigarettes. They blow up them with cigarettes. That was weird. All throughout this point too, we have no idea. We don't know they work for the army. No. I don't even know that we've actually even been told Wolf's name at this point. It's just like this whole big thing, and then they're being chased, and eventually they ride a Jeep off of a cliff into water.
Into the water. That's how they get away.
Yeah. And there's a commercial break for me watching this on whatever it was. I think YouTube.
So many commercials.
There was so many commercials, but we come back after them riding into this lake, and like we're at a different scene entirely. And I was so confused. I'm like, there was only the length of a commercial, and I don't know what happened. Like all of a sudden they're back. They're in an army base.
George wants to bring them to the army base. That's all you need to know. George is like, we need you. And he's like, oh, fancy meeting you here. Fancy meeting you here. I should punch you in the eye the way you treated me last time. That kind of thing.
Does he really say that?
Yeah. It's like, well,
George is the Lando Calrissian to Wolf's Han Solo.
I was only 17. And he's like,
now we're doing Indiana Jones?
Yeah, it's like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
You know what you were doing. Indiana Jones, everyone's favorite child molester.
So the army, this is basic plot. The army is confusing. They're like, we're testing these detectors with submarines, and we need to set off our transmitters in a cave. We got to find a cave soon. That's what's going on. I'm like, really?
So even though we're like deep in the jungle of Nicaragua, they're putting these Omega wave transmitters, which they're so low frequency, they will be heard through hundreds of miles of rock for the submarines.
Yep.
At the same location is a bunch of scientists who are researching artifacts. We never hear what these artifacts are, just that they're finding a lot in this one area.
Mm-hmm.
There's a kind of a babe, like she's an older babe. Yeah. She's still a babe named Frida.
Well,
then there's a younger babe named Leslie.
But how she's introduced, they're in the Jeep, and the Howlin' Wolf Wolfenson's like, I'm going to check out this empty spot over here, and he just makes a beeline to Frida.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
No. There's a lot was happening, and I'm writing stuff down. There's definitely parts of this movie I missed because I was writing stuff down, and like
that's fine.
Yeah. And then there's a third U.S. I mean, none of them are U.S. I should say. Frida is English, Leslie is U.S., and there's another guy named Ganon, like the arch foe of Link from the Legend of Zelda games, who's a scientist. These three scientists researching this cave. Army's trying to the U.S. Army.
I do want to address
take it over.
How he meets Leslie, right? The other woman.
That scene was actually it's one of those scenes where, yeah, of course I saw that part.
Well, Mr. McWolfenson.
So Wolf is back at the cave. Yeah, Wolf first
he finds a lady. She's bending over in the water.
Yep,
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, she's fully dressed, just so you know. But she's like cleaning pots, and somehow he scares her, and she leaps like 20 feet out from the edge and like falls into the water. And they introduce herself, and she's like, "What's your name?" And she's like, "Leslie." And he goes, and she asks him what his name. She goes, "Wolf, as in big bad."
Yep.
And I was gonna do a list there, but I decided not to.
No, he says Wolf. She's like, "As in big bad," and he says, "As in lone wolf." You don't want to get involved with me, Dottie. There, another movie.
Wow, so nervous. And then he says, "I'm gonna blow you down." And she goes, "Whoa, buddy."
Yeah.
He reaches a hand out to get her, and she again pulls him like 20 feet into the water. She apparently has superhuman strength. He goes, "Whoa!" He finds her frying pan, and that's their meet cute.
He's underwater for a long time, and she's like, "Uh-oh." And then he comes up with a frying pan, just like Freddy, frying pan in his hand.
Hi to Kevin Kablaska. Just like Freddy, always pulling out of the water with frying pans.
Oh, sorry, that's the other guy, Friday the 13th. He comes
Jason,
out of the water. Jason.
Just like Jason Voorhees, always like pulling out of the water with frying pans. Yeah.
Yeah.
So something happens. Basically, there's a lot of so there's an Arby guy who's a dick and hates Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very confusing, and he wants to take over the dig. He's kicking out the scientists because they're going to put the transmitter in the cave.
Yeah, they want to find artifacts.
Does it's something. Yeah.
Versus military.
Yeah, and somehow Wolf does something that makes them say, like, okay, we'll bring the scientists along to check it out.
Well, so first they find the open cave, I should say. They've been looking for an opening.
Yep.
And they finally
Ganon
found
says
one.
it has just opened because there was like a landslide, so they find an entrance into this cave.
And Frida, she's like, here's evidence that shows that dinosaurs became extinct because of the Ice Age. There you go. This, I don't know what it is with these movies.
Continuing the tradition of bad dinosaur knowledge.
So they go in, yeah.
So let's just say who's there. It's the scientists who are Frida, the English babe, Leslie, the blonde American babe, Ganon, who's the guy, Wolf, who's our hero, the British guy, George, who is the soldier that's a good guy, and like 4 other soldiers, including the dick.
And I do want to say, McWolfenson, he smoked a joint with Leslie, and they made out after she like pushed him in water. Right? I think that happened before this.
They doesn't matter. Did they actually smoke a joint?
Yeah, he rolled one, and she's like, "Oh, I want to kiss you." That was basically what happened. Whoa, you missed a lot.
No, I mean,
he says, "I'm a lone wolf."
I wrote
Daddy. You don't want to get involved with me.
Somehow Wolf convinces the lady to kiss him. I wrote, so I guess. That's,
okay. Yeah. Lured her with marijuana.
Yeah, that makes sense. So they go inside this cave, and again, I want to stress to everybody watching this at home: if you do watch this movie, or if you don't, this was filmed in real caverns. So while this movie is inexpensive at points, it looks really fucking good in the caves. Like they filmed this entire movie in these. Yeah, I mean, it almost killed the entire cast at one point.
Eesh.
Not just the cast, the entire everyone, the director, the lighting people.
So one guy repels
into the entrance. Yeah. One guy falls. At this point of the movie, I couldn't recognize who anybody was.
I think it's George. He just fell and he gets stuck.
Is it George? Okay.
I think. And he goes, "It's as
George.
Dark. I mean, it's as dark as a cow's third stomach in here." I'm like, "Whoa, it's a strange thing to say."
Inside of a third stomach. They ask him if you see a bottom. No, it's as dark as inside of a cow's third stomach. I'm like, huh?
That's dark.
That
is dark, George. That cave was so dark.
How dark? Is that a list?
Yeah. No, it's just me asking you how dark that cave was. It was so dark. It was almost as dark as a moose's fourth stomach, because they have a lot of stomachs too, George. It's so dark, George.
It's not true. Yeah.
That cave was so dark. Yeah. It was nearly as dark as a giraffe's large intestine.
All right. What else? Let's get some other hooved animals in there. And
that cave was so dark, George. It was nearly as dark as that dark day in November 1963 when Kennedy was gunned down in Dallas. That's how dark it was.
By a Sasquatch. You know what, Tim? I think we need to change our tagline from being America's foremost revenge-themed podcast to being the world's foremost Kennedy Zapruder film obsessed podcast.
Just another one. Spin-off show coming soon. George doesn't want to be here for it.
Nope, I won't be there for that one at all. At this point, we have a great line by the scientist Gannon. In a cave, the only predictable element is the unpredictable.
I wrote that down too.
Yep, it was good.
That was a good one. Scientist we never saw before, by the way.
The first time we see him is literally when he goes, look, I found the entrance to the cave. I'm like, I guess this guy's gonna be a main character. This is Gannon. We need to write, yeah. So at this point, the army reveals. What?
Oh, just George and Wolf McWolferson get to the bottom.
I thought you. Tim, this is confusing. That there's a character named George and there's me named George.
I know.
So I'm going to ask every time you talk about George the character, you say George too.
Okay.
The army says at this point that they're not going to let the scientists do. They're just gonna be like, yeah, we're just gonna take over, and we were using your scientists and your spelunking and rappelling skills to find us inside. Now we're inside. We're just gonna set up a little bit of a transmitter here for our submarines, and they do. They bring in the transmitter.
They go down the cave. Right?
Oh, actually, Tim, this is when Wolf and Leslie make out.
Oh, okay. I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I messed it up. I wrote here the army's going into the caves doing tests. Yeah, they drink, and Wolfman rolls a joint. Lady seems to like Wolfman McWolverington now.
And then they're all in one spot, and they leave two soldiers behind. They're like the equivalent of, I'm going to make a Star Trek reference here, like the red shirts.
Yeah.
There's one who is a Nicaraguan soldier, and there's one who's a U.S. soldier.
And they do not get along.
No, they do. He's like, tell me about the U.S. And the guy's like, well, I'm from Wisconsin. It's pretty fields.
But then you can feel the tension between them.
And then they start kissing, which is okay, as Tim will point out.
In 1984, yeah. Kiss and don't tell.
But then what do we see, Tim?
White Walkers? We don't see them yet. We just see people running.
No, we do. We see a close-up of like a blue, cloudy eye.
Yeah. We didn't see the
isolated. Whole... Like, it's like watching it from a crack. You're like, oh. I'm like, and now this movie is going to be about, there's going to be some... mole people, some Morlocks, whatever you want to. Did you actually catch what they were called? Well, we'll get to it in a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. The army guy, he doesn't like being underground. It's like being in a grave. He has another cool metaphor.
It's so big, like a grave.
And then he says it's like being in a cow's third stomach. Not stopping me,
like,
George.
Hey, where have I heard them before?
And
the other guy's like, I'd say it's more like being in a giraffe's large intestine. Yeah.
He also says it's like being in his uncle's secret basement room with that rusty bed and the video camera.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Tim.
I take it too far.
It's dark. Yeah. So we see this blue eye watching, and then suddenly we see them briefly. There's like these albinos. We see like just their arms, maybe a hint of hair, and they're throwing these like little darts or something at them. Mm-hmm. And like they shatter all the lights, and the soldier's like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And they get kidnapped, I guess.
Yeah. And then the army's like, Mr. Wolfskin McCanine, we need your help. It's not stopping, George.
We didn't mention this.
A great episode.
The army at this point, because Wolf guy, it was like the Wolfman was like, you didn't say you were going to screw these scientists over. Like, we don't need you anymore, Wolf guy. And then they come back and they're like, we need you, Wolf guy, because our two guys we left down, they disappeared, and so did the transmitter.
And didn't you
we need you and your experience.
I thought they were going to blame them for that. They don't think that. Who else is out there? Too.
I know. It seems very obvious that that's what they're going. They don't do that.
Yeah.
So now Wolf, Leslie, Frida, Gannon, and the two remaining soldiers go back inside. Yep. You'd think they'd replace the missing soldiers, but I don't think they had the budget to do that.
Right.
And they're going in, and they go in. They're like, oh, there might be more soldiers. I don't know.
I thought they'd send in like SEAL Team 6 if that happened.
Yeah, I guess they weren't hanging at Nicaragua / Alabama that day. And they're like, so they decide they go inside. They find a giant illuminated cave, which is actually very impressive looking because again, it's a real cave. I wrote down there was these worms, these glowworms that are called the
Are they
Stars
real?
of Death.
I was going to ask you this.
I guess.
Oh, you didn't look it up?
No, because they see these like glowworms hanging down, and like that's how they say that it's illuminated. They have this luminescent mucus.
I see.
But they don't play any part in the movie beyond this, so I'm gonna say they probably were real. I don't know. If you're a spelunker, an experienced cave dweller, please write to us at Seddy Bimco at @gmail.com. Tell us.
The closed captioning, by the way, I always turn it on to learn people's names.
Yeah?
Terrible. You know, the weird music in the cave, it was written as applause.
I was actually just thinking recently. I was just listening to our recent episode about the town that dreaded sundown. You and I have an argument on that episode about whether a character's name is Miss Kiner or Miss Connor. And you're like, I had on the closed captioning, so it's definitely Miss Kiner. And then you play an audio clip in the same episode, completely undermining your argument, where it's clearly Mrs. Connor. I'm like, damn, Tim, you just faced yourself. Not Kiner at all.
That's what it said.
Yep. Yeah. So closed captioning is a dirty lie. So at this point, they do something that everybody knows you shouldn't do. They decide to split up into two teams.
I know.
To explore. I'm like, well, I guess people are just going to start dying. And they're like, the army guy's like, don't bother going down any ways that aren't big enough to carry the transmitter down. Because really, that's how we learned. They don't really care about the missing soldiers. They just care about the transmitter.
Yeah.
So
they say, because this is never explained, they find electronics they never saw before. Remember them saying that?
Yeah, so this is where I think I'm going to mention, if you read the credits, the albinos are referred to as Lemurians.
Oh.
Do you know what Lemuria is?
The fabled undersea. I guess I don't.
Lemuria is it's a hypothetical. It's similar to Atlantis. Basically, so here's some real world science and craziness dropping on you from me, a guy who spends so much time listening to this. You know what lemurs are, right? Like proto-simians. They're they're like similar to monkeys, but like a few steps down the evolutionary tree away from us. When people started cataloging like different life forms, they were like, isn't it weird that you find lemurs in South America and you also find lemurs in Asia? But like, how did that happen? How did this weird creature come in two spaces? And they didn't know about the continental drift theory yet, where the land masses were together and grew apart. They instead came up with a hypothetical continent in the middle that would have been the spot for these two animals to come across.
I remember
called Lemuria. Now, that was the original use of it. Since then, various cuckoo banana people have decided that the Lemurians were like the mythical Atlanteans. They were a super advanced race of people, white people normally, who had an advanced civilization that sank beneath the sea in some sort of cataclysm in prehistory. So they never come out and say this. The only place you hear the term Lemurians is in the credits, where the people are listed as Lemurians.
Wow.
Apparently they have the remnants of a super advanced technology from whenever cataclysm, or maybe they're aliens, who knows, but they have weird circuit boards that nobody's ever seen before. And they don't seem to know how to use.
Yeah, so
they just make jewelry out of it.
There's more to the story.
But they find
prequel.
While they're searching up, maybe there'll be a sequel. So one group of the people finds a piece of the transmitter. And other people find this weird circuit board that's never been doesn't look like anything that they've ever seen before. And they're able to go in a certain direction and find this.
And they find a skeleton.
Well, I just want to first mention Frida, the English babe, falls down the barely inclined slope. It's like hilarious. It's like
dropping like flies.
But it's such a slight angle she falls. I'm like, are we playing this for peril? Really? Like there are inclines in my house that are worse than this. Like, and she finds a skeleton, and the scientists she screams. And they're like, who could this have been? Someone must have come in here. And they're like, no, it's 150 years old, the skeleton. Ooh. And they point out that there's no clothes on it. So I'm like, ooh, are we going to see some naked albinos? Oh. Spoilers, we don't. No. They also mentioned weirdly right before an ad that it has hydrocephalus, and then that just disappears. That we come back, they just don't talk about that. Yeah.
They were putting up piles of stones to keep track where they went, by the way.
Oh, yeah. As the people were exploring the caves, they would make like little piles of stones to indicate which caverns they came down.
Totally destroying any, they were the first ones in here. They're just destroying everything.
Because there was the 150-year-old naked skeleton.
Oh, well, it's okay
Wolf
then.
finds a handprint in some fungus.
Yep.
So now they know for sure they're not alone. And then George notices that there's a rock maker marker that wasn't where it was before, like Tim mentioned.
I was getting bored here, George. I'm surprised you like this. I was like, this is going to be a lot of... You hate people riding motorcycles around? I hate watching people wander around caves.
Well, it's like the setup for this could have been really cool. It's like we're in this cool spot, and I'm like, oh boy, we're going to get a full review of these. We're finally going to see what these things look like. They find the Nicaraguan soldier. He's dead.
Yep. Somebody finds a glove and sniffs it. Sanchez. I was like, what's going on?
I wrote, yes.
Did you see that?
Guy finds strip of cloth and sniffs it, but it's not panties, I wrote.
That's true. It was not panties.
It was not panties, but he's sniffing it like it was panties.
And then a big black monster thing grabs him, right? He's looking at that.
And then he gets attacked by like this weird
eel,
black snake.
Yeah.
Eel or something.
Weird.
I don't know. It's like it looks like they took the puppet from Lair the White Worm and spray painted it black. It's biting him. He oddly doesn't yell.
No, he waits.
He's just grappling. This thing's biting his arm. Then it comes under, or maybe it's the second one is like biting his leg.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a hand puppet coming from a hole in the wall. And he's like not yelling for a long time. He finally yells. Wolf comes in with a gun, shoots this thing in the head and saves him.
Yep. Canine McWolfmaster shoots him right in the head.
Canine McWolfmaster. I can't wait to see what this name ends up being by the end. You're going to be like, Doggy McFoxenstein.
No spoilers.
Nope. So Santos, that's the soldier. He's grievously wounded. You know, his hands all chewed up from this giant snake.
And what do they do?
And like, hey, here's a couple of bandages on you. Let's send you back to the surface by yourself, wounded guy. Like, wow, these guys suck.
Yes. I love that.
So what happens?
Well, Frida does the worst thing.
What does she do?
Nobody brought any food, and she just brought a big container of hummus with carrot sticks.
She just eats it in front of him.
Yes.
She makes him watch. He goes, all the protein and then hummus might help me heal. She's like, it might. And she just takes her finger and just rips around the edge and eats a big blob. Frida's a real jerk.
She is.
So, yeah, Santos with his wounded hand is walking. We follow him for a bit. He gets
hit by a dart. He
starts hearing weird noises. He gets hit by a dart in his good hand.
No, he gets stabbed to death. Right?
Well, first he gets hit by the dart, and he looks at his hand. He's like, "Oh!" And then a guy runs out with like a crystal like blade and stabs him.
That's when we see them, the White Walkers, right?
Yeah. Well, man, let's say they're White Walkers. You might be thinking of like the characters from Game of Thrones. I think we really need to sell how these creatures look.
They're white.
Oh. Also, there's infravision. We see they see
they see in the dark,
like
George,
in their infrared scale. Like there's some interesting stuff. It's all set. But I'm like, I can't wait to see what these creatures look like. I'm thinking the Descent, like weird like cave creatures. So these guys look like fucking Star Trek aliens.
Yeah, they're so white, George.
They're white.
They're so white, George. They are so white.
Oh no, it's a list. Oh, go on.
They're so white.
List. Yeah, how white are they, Tim?
People think they're the Oscars. They're so white. They're so white. Yep. People are always asking them directions to the nearest cross burning.
Okay.
They're so white.
It is Alabama after all. Yeah. All right. How white are they, Tim?
To celebrate Black History Month. Wow. To celebrate Black History Month.
You say?
They watch an episode of Different Strokes.
All right. What else?
That's it.
That's it. Yep.
Short and sweet.
Let's just describe.
Told you this is going to be a fantastic episode.
These guys they're just dudes wearing white paint. Now, I get it. White paint, blue eyes, because they don't use their eyes much because they're in caves. Right there, you have pretty good basis for like what would be a semi-decent monster.
Yeah.
However, they give them silly white outfits, like real fucking 1960s Star Trek level shit, and they all have silly white bowl cuts.
And that when they indicate they made their clothes out of their hair, is that what I was?
Yeah, and they make their clothes out of their own hair, which is pretty gross.
That stinks.
Which I guess that's why the one they found was naked, was they just took the clothes off.
Yeah, some guy was like, "Those clothes are mine now," and these boots, and this jewelry.
Tim, would you wear if you're in a world where clothes are hard to find? Say you and I are in a cave together, and I die. Would you strip my body from my hair clothes and wear clothes made of my own hair? Yeah.
Ooh, depends how cold it is.
It's like it's pretty cold. It's inside of a cave.
Do I meet anyone else?
I mean, there's people around you, but you have to. Here's the thing: you have to wait until you could grow enough hair to make your own clothes.
No,
you get a free set of clothes.
I'd pull a Tom Sawyer, and I'd say, "Oh, sure, if you want to wear these wonderful hair clothes, you got to pay me a nickel." But I'm not gonna. I don't know. If you deserve to wear my hair clothes. The whole.
I'm dead. Who you offering to pay? It just sucks. You ruined the story. This is
Tom
a good
Sawyer.
Point to mention, though.
I'd make money.
Yeah, we
People
know Tom
would
Sawyer.
pay me to wear the hair clothes because I fooled them. And they're like, this is terrible.
There's no money in this world, Tim. It sucks.
There's
no money.
Like, I got your nickel.
Also, there's no money. Also, these people don't speak. Well, they don't speak. They kind of make weird noises. I was trying to come up with the noises they make, and I came up with it kind of sounds a little bit like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
Like, ho ho ho. Ichuda solo.
Yeah.
But like less wordy, more like ho ho ho.
They distorted it a lot, I think, with electronics.
These monsters suck.
They do.
And honestly, here's the thing, man. I feel like these designs would have worked fine if they didn't have neat little bowl cuts and they didn't have stupid little shorts made of like white hair and shit.
Yeah.
Make them either do naked, go full on, Jack Weiss, naked, hanging bits out, or give them like rags.
Right.
Or give them clothes that doesn't look like fucking 1960s
Where would
Star
they get
Trek.
rags? Come on. Think about this.
I don't know. Here's the thing. These guys have weird fucking technology. They have all these circuit boards that they've made jewelry out of. They make their weapons. We didn't mention this. Their weapons are made out of hollowed out thigh bones.
Yes.
So
Darts.
it's like, and the swords are made of like crystal. So like they're like Stone Age technology, but they have like this. They have like the fucking circuit boards, whatever. They don't understand the technology. Why do they have the fucking neat little outfits and the goddamn haircuts?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ah.
They found a picket fence, so this little kid was supposed to paint it white.
Why is he doing this Tom Sawyer stuff? It's fucking weird.
Some other kids came by. He's like, "Yeah, you think it'd be fun to paint this here fence?" So Wolfman McKee Man, he approaches. I don't know where we are. They ran around in the cave a lot, and then they find Leslie and others who are captured. Are we up to there, or is there anything else that happened?
There's some stuff that happens. Basically, they find like a big monolith.
Yeah,
it's like got a skull carved into it.
It was kind of
They find
neat.
a bunch of stalagmites with it was neat.
Yeah,
bunch of stalagmites with skeletons embedded in it, hinting that they've been there for even longer. There's some cool shit. Again, the setup of this is really fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
If they had creatures that were not the shittiest Star Trek Doctor Who rejects I've ever seen in my life, this movie would have been pretty damn good.
I was gonna say this is basically an episode of Doctor Who.
It really is.
So
and like not a good one.
No.
It's one that people would have been like, it's a lost episode, and frankly, we're okay with that. Oh, the leg bone weapon is called a Woomera.
Oh,
because that's what proof this is an Australian film. Apparently, that is a weapon that Aborigines in Australia use. Woomera. Yeah. So basically, Leslie, the blonde girl, gets captured, and then
George
also,
too, I think, or one of the scientists.
They all get captured, but they all get captured at different times. Because at first, like George and like Wolf are watching this. So then we see the assemblage of these people in this big fucking cave with their stupid bowl cuts and their stupid white little diapers. And the assembled heroes at this point, it's George, Wolfenstein, Leslie the blonde, Frida the English babe, and Ganon the archfoe of Link.
I thought,
and the two other soldiers are off. They found the transmitter, but they're in a different room.
Right.
Yep. Right.
And I give this one part of the movie props.
Which part?
Where they don't speak English, but we know exactly what happened. Like Lone Wolf McGrayskin is going to have a knife fight with the leader of the White Walkers, and there's no words. You're like, oh, you guys are going to fight.
Oh, he's not the leader. He's the best fighter. There's a clear disagreement between the leader and the best fighter.
You even saw more than I saw. This was just George. This was just like X-Men, Uncanny X-Men issue 107, where Rogue fought Callisto.
Storm.
Storm fought Callisto, the leader of the Morlocks, with a knife.
Holy shit, these people looked like warlocks. Do you think Chris Claremont was watching this movie and was like, oh boy, I can't wait to adapt this to my best-selling X-Men comic?
Exact same year, so I don't know. Exact same year. I looked it up.
Dude, was it really? So then it definitely was.
Or 19.
Folks, I know Tim.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
X-Men 107 came out in 1983. This movie's 1984. So, hey.
Okay, so it's... Wait, X-Men... That was an X-Men 107
170.
that happened in? 170. Yeah, I'm like, that's way too early.
Oh, you've tuned in for Nerd Talk.
You know what's funny? I just, like, as a side thing, I'm watching the original X-Men cartoon in anticipation of the new episodes being released.
Yeah.
And I just watched their version of that story.
Oh.
Where Storm fights, and they fight with lightsabers in that one. So they couldn't have Storm just fucking stab her.
Wow.
Yeah. Good stuff. I thought this was very Captain Kirky, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, so Wolf has to fight the champion. So the champion is a big dude. He's got a white little bowl cut, white skin, little diaper on. They got crystal swords.
Yes.
Wolf's doing some cool kicks, jumping up in the air, kicking with his little sneakers on, doing little back punches. Yeah. He pretty much humiliates.
Oh, yeah.
Humiliates this guy. He knocks him on the floor, punches him in the face a bunch of time. He's got red blood, so we know he's human. But he doesn't kill him. Wolf does not make the kill. Wolfsbane.
He does not make the kill. Yes. You keep saying his name before I can say it. I got like 100 of these. So
okay.
They're all gone.
So
no, we're going forward.
So the leader comes, and like because he spared the giant Lemurian, he hands Wolfenstein a necklace made of circuit boards, and he puts it on, and they're friends.
Yeah.
And it seems like everything's going to be okay. They're going to let him go. And then meanwhile, the asshole sergeant in a different part of the cave, that's when he turns on the transmitter.
Yep. And psychic psychic sound goes through their heads.
No, it's not psychic. It's sonic.
Sorry. Or it's pronounced psychic, George. It could be.
Sonics, the same thing, folks. Cite us in your science paper. So the Sonics make the Lemurians go screaming because, of course, they have evolved to live underground. And they can hear it, and the normal humans, the surface dwellers, can't. So they go running off to the Lemurians run up to go stop the soldiers. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're leaving some shit out here.
No, they run up and scream and make the stalactites fall on the soldiers on the transmitter.
Well, yeah, there's a shootout. The soldiers, because they're not like Wolf. You want to enter a Wolf name in here?
Beowulf.
Beowulf and his pals, they're very accepting of these people. They're like, no, we can work with them together. The soldiers like, shoot them, and they're just shooting these guys. They're dying. Yes. And so the albinos are like screaming. Argh! It goes on for very long. The roof collapses, kills the soldiers.
Yep.
Then they're like, at some point, Frida gets killed. She gets a spike in her face.
Oh, that's right.
And Gannon gets a spike in the face.
It's pretty much Timberwolf, McBarkin, and George,
and Leslie.
Leslie, yeah.
George does the thing where he gets between like a narrow crack and he shimmies up really high in the air and he just runs into them randomly. It's like, oh, well, why did we have the scene? So it's the three of them left. Yeah, it was very. He's like. Well, because George is there with the other two scientists when they get killed. So he tells Leslie, they're like, where are the other two? And they're like, they didn't make it. And Leslie starts crying. They're like, there's no time for that now. We got to get out. And they're running for the entrance to the cave. There are only 3 survivors left.
Yep.
And they're surrounded by 2 groups of stupid looking idiots with bowl cuts on their head, stupid albinos. I
don't remember what happens, George. You got me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. It's kind of like that scene in like Temple of Doom where they're like they're surrounded. It's like pretend they're on a bridge and like they're in the middle. And Wolf pulls out his gun and he's going to fire it. I guess he's going to go out to blaze of glory. And I guess this is maybe when the transmitter happens. I think that's I don't know. Look.
What, George? You don't know how it ends? Neither of us remembers how it ends. I fell asleep.
Well, I went. Did you really? Here's the thing.
They got
the
out.
Whole shootout with the soldiers apparently happens after. Frida gets killed before this. I don't remember how they got the original thing.
But they get out.
I wrote a lot of flips.
What I have is Codename Wolf tells them to steal the cave. The end. That's what I have.
Tim, know what happened? The transmitter doesn't come on yet. The soldiers had shot a couple of albinos. One of them runs back and he falls and dies in front of them. So like, oh, you're bad. And that makes Wolf feel bad and he gives back his necklace.
Okay.
And then
it's chaos. I have written chaos.
It's chaos.
Run around the caves.
They hide.
They run by each other. They hide. Look out.
There's
Hide
a lot of
behind,
shooting.
They say
Soldiers
things
die.
like this, George. Hide behind this stalactite. That's a good idea.
And they're like, that's actually a stalagmite when it's on the ground.
All right.
And they wink at each other. And so basically they get to the out there, and then there's like a face off, and Wolf, because he was the one who was, respectful of these people, he approaches one of the guys with his hands up. I guess it's the leader, but it might be the giant guy, because I couldn't really tell them apart. And he hands back his necklace to him, and he's like, hey man, sorry I ruined your whole civilization. Right. They're like, hey, no, it's okay. He holds his hand out. The albino guy shakes his hand, and then he puts his head to his forehead, which means something, but Wolf doesn't reciprocate the deal. So I figure it's probably a grievous insult.
Oh.
And the three of them leave. And I'm like, wow,
what did the guy do? He put his hand to his head as a symbol? Is that what you said? You didn't explain
the one albino who comes up there, he does Wolf holds his hand out for like a handshake. And of course, it's another culture. He's never seen this before. So the albino reciprocates. He puts his hand out too. Wolf grabs it and shakes it, and the albino smiles. He's like, oh, I get it. Then the albino looks at Wolf very pointedly, and like the way you might do to symbolize grief in our culture, he holds his head to his forehead and stares at Wolf. And Wolf just stares at him back and doesn't do anything.
That was an insult. I figured that out.
I figured he was probably like, this is our sign of friendship. And Wolf's like, fuck you.
No, he that was a sign of, will you wear my hair clothes? And you're supposed to take the hair clothes off and wear them. He was grievously insulted.
Yeah, it's disgusting. So our heroes get out.
I love it. I'm obsessed with hair clothes. George, sorry.
Yeah, you are.
Sorry for the next 6 months.
I'm looking forward to it. Folks, tune in to season 3. We're talking about hair clothes. Oh, should we say what the final scene is?
I forget. I fell asleep.
So you fell asleep. So our heroes come out. They seal the cave, and the people, the Lemurians, we only saw one before, but then we see that there's a bunch of Lemurians who survived.
Right.
And they walk off into the caves together.
I did see
Is there a child, too?
I thought I saw a child. There has to be, George.
And, I guess, yeah.
I think
those Lemurians are fucking inbred.
Yes. That's why they're white.
Yeah. And they walk off into the darkness, and,
But that's it. Were the credits crooked?
My last line I wrote, then we see a bunch of dumb Star Trek looking aliens walk off into caves. The end. Yeah. Wow.
Yay, revenge.
Revenge.
Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you.
Revenge.
One of us will die.
Oh, I highlighted it. So first, who from this movie most likely to dance with bears in Kazakhstan? Kazakhstan?
Yep. Wolf. Wolf dance with bears.
You think so?
Yeah, because Wolf is the world traveler. He's the badass. He's like the Indiana Jones of this. This guy has done everything, seen it all. He's, he dances with them bears.
And you know what, George?
Tim is cracking up his own jokes. Everybody.
I don't know. He refused to wear, Mr. Wolfenson, he refused to wear hair clothes. But he liked to wear clothes made out of bear fur. So,
yeah. Okay, go on. Is that all you got?
When it got wet, it stunk.
Okay.
So he would go to the bar.
And he danced?
And everybody's like, ooh, what smells like bear clothes in here? Okay, you go. Come on, finish it up. These are amazing.
I just want to point out that it's ironic that bear is it's a homonym for bear, like not wearing clothes at all. Bear clothes, it seems like it's an oxymoron.
Whoops.
And they said, you better get bear, Wolf. And so Wolf strips down, so he's completely naked, and he dances, which helps him air out his functitude sooner.
Okay.
And then he steps outside and immediately freezes to death because it was actually, it turns out it's winter that time of year in Kazakhstan.
Oof. The end.
That sucked.
The end.
The end. And then the last shot, in a cave nearby, a bunch of dumb looking Star Trek aliens walk off into the darkness.
The end.
The end.
We're getting better at this.
We are. We're the best podcast.
No, better at this improv.
Move over, Wolf and Spider, or whatever the hell you're called. All right.
Who's going to do the revenge story first?
Let's see. You go first.
My revenge story?
Uh-huh.
So Mr. McWolfenson Wolverton he hates the name his father gave him, and he has issues with his father. As I said, his father's name is Skywolf Hunter Zephyr Hawkerson.
And that's why Zephyr is the weird part in there, I would say.
His father was a pilot, and he mocked his son for his love of caves.
When you say mock, was it MACH because he was a pilot who traveled at faster than the speed of sound? No? Okay.
I think he'd riff on my story, not rip up my story.
Not destroy.
So he hated his father and all his father stood for in his airplane, and he doubled down on his love, and did the opposite. That's why he got revenge on his father. He became a speluntologist, which they use that term in this movie.
Wait, do they really?
Yeah, I looked it up.
A speluntologist.
Oh, don't look it up.
I'm looking it up.
His father flew in the sky, so Wolfton McWolf II became a speluntologist and went way underground, where it's like being in the large intestines of a cow. Right. After this, Wolfie Lupinson. That doesn't make sense.
Oh my goodness. Well, no, loop, like Lupo.
I know.
Wolf. I get it. Yeah. You're branching out into Latin. I approve.
He found out that his father, Hawking McHawk Wolf, was not just a pilot anymore, but had flown into outer space, and he's now an astronaut. His father said, "You will never rule with me in the heavens at my side," and thus, to get further revenge on his father, he said, "I'd rather rule down below than sit by your side and rule in the heavens, Father." So Wolf, he wanted to go further underground. He went deep down. He consulted a group of worshippers of Hades, Greek gods, and the underworld.
Wow.
They gave him last rites, and he was able to get directions to the deepest, darkest place of all. You know where, right, George? I don't want to say it.
Third stomach of a cow?
H-E double hockey sticks.
Oh, okay.
So Wolfgrave meets Sharon. Is it Sharon or Sharon?
What's his name?
Wolfgrave.
Charon.
I thought it was... Charon. Yeah.
It's the CH is a hard K.
He meets Charon and gives him a suspiciously big jar of coins so that he can get across the river Styx quickly. And Wolfgrave McFurmaster gets off at the levee and heads down to meet Satan.
Satan? What?
Or Hades.
We're getting very Dante here. Okay.
He shows up in his throne room and demands that with all his many amazing names that he has, Mr. Wolfer McWolferton, he should rule in hell. But Satan laughs and says, "You have many names. I go by so many more names like Beelzebub, Prince of Darkness, Asmodeus, Apollyon, Baphomet, Rudy Giuliani, Dambella, Eric Trump. Gotcha, Eric. Cablasto. Anyway, he has many names. Moloch, Lucifer." Moloch. So he throws down a knife and tells the devil Wolfbone throws down a knife and tells the devil, "Throw away your pitchfork. We're just going to fight with knives," like in issue 170 of Uncanny X-Men. And just as they're about to fight, Wolfton hits that detonator button with those coins he left with Charon and blows up the levee, and all the water from the river Styx starts to flow into hell. And the trident washes away, and both Wolfman and Satan dive for it. And after a long time underwater, Wolfson rises from the water holding a frying pan that got away from the surface world because he's really good at finding frying pans, but not tridents. And the devil rises up behind him with his trident and says, "Out of the frying pan and into the fire, Wolfman McJerkerson?" And thus, thus the now named Wolfman McJerkerson is damned to hell to fry eggs for all eternity because Satan always wins. And that sequel is called Revelation 12-7.
It's not called Uncanny X-Men issue 171?
No.
Wow. And folks, if you were able to follow the narrative through all the permutations of Wolfie McWolferstein in various versions,
was that hard?
Please write to us. Yeah, I had a hard time. You had two main characters, Satan and Wolf, who both had a different name every time you evoked them.
He went to hell and fought
narratively, Satan. Yeah.
That's all.
Narratively, that was impossible to follow. But I love it. That was good.
And he lost.
Because as you said, and as is definitely the general theme of Seddy Bimco, Satan always wins.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So do you have one of your own? Or
Yeah. Wait.
Okay.
Who was getting revenge there?
Revenge on his father. He didn't want to help him in heaven.
Right.
He wanted to rule in hell.
I forgot because his father, it was Zephyr guy. That was the whole thing. Yep. Okay.
These are getting shorter, right. George. I'm making them shorter.
No, they were not.
And shorter.
No, they were not. All right.
I want to do one
Start the music.
one sentence long.
Yeah,
I do.
I would love that. Do it. Yeah, I could do that. Start the music.
Okay.
All right. So the way I look at it, there were some aggrieved parties in here who should be seeking revenge. And I'm specifically going to the person seeking revenge in my story is the large albino Lemurian who fought Wolf in like the kind of duel, like the kind of, what was that big lizard guy in Star Trek that Kirk fought?
A Gorn.
A Gorn. It was kind of like the Gorn duel, right?
Mm-hmm.
He gets totally faced in front of like all his friends and his girlfriend and his kid brother and his boss. He gets beaten up by this like little flippy guy that looks like Jesus because he played Jesus in another movie.
In 1977.
Yeah,
he played Jesus.
and then they have a moment later after like many members of their group are killed by these outsiders, and he shows up to him and he grabs his weird pigment-filled hand and shakes it, and he's grossed out because he's used to albinos, but he does it anyway. And then he reciprocates with the famous symbol, the greeting of his people, holding one hand to his forehead. Wolf just looks at him like he's a big old white turd and walks away. This is the biggest insult imaginable because, like you actually guessed, Tim,
you're stealing my hair clothes story.
It's a symbol. They were supposed to swap their hair clothes. Yeah, the Lemurian, whose name actually is not given in the movie, I'll tell you, it's was supposed to take off his white little diaper and hand it to Wolf, and Wolf was supposed to take off his weird clothes, which would be like this kind of blue fabric.
Yes,
and this thing covering on his feet. He was wearing jeans and sneakers and a shirt, but he just assumed it was made from his hair. He was actually, honestly, was really curious to see what Wolf looked like naked because he figured.
Oh no!
They make all their clothes from hair. He must have like blue pubic hair and shit, like Beast from the X-Men. But he gets doubly shamed. He walks off, and he never sees it. He's just like, what we don't even see is like he kind of goes around the corner and takes all his clothes off because he figures it's gonna happen. When he comes back, he's just standing there naked, just like a dummy.
Oh, is that what
People
happened?
are pointing at his weird white genitals, like laughing. His friends. He's like, damn, this sucks.
They called it the stuff.
They call it
laughing at his little
the layer of the white worm.
No, they're laughing at his little stalactite. I can't believe you let that joke go.
Okay. I like my layer of the white worm one better. It just kind of seethes, and he tries to bury it down deep in the cave that is his heart, but he can't let it slide. And he gets so annoyed. He comes up to the surface world. He has to avenge this wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't realize this. Like, there's kind of like hints of psychic powers of these guys. In fact, from what I read of the script that was posted online, they are supposed to have psychic powers, but the movie didn't do it. So he's able to glom onto where Wolf is in the world, right?
Right.
And he follows him. Wolf has gone up north from Nicaragua through Central America, up into the upper reaches of North America. He follows him the whole time, traveling at night, which makes him, it's hard because he's got, has chalk white skin. He has to keep to the shadows, and he kind of stands out. And he finally finds him in this bar in the frozen north.
Mm-hmm.
Travel's become easier for at this point because he matches the snowy landscape.
Oh.
But it's pretty cold. His hair doesn't keep him that warm.
I think he'd get run over.
Well, he doesn't stick to the roads. He walks through like the woods and the caves. Yeah. He stops off at Gotham City in the way, says hi to our pal Wormface.
Jeez.
Yep. But he comes out and he's in the north and he finds like there's this kind of like honky-tonk rinky-dink bar.
Okay.
And Wolf is there having a beer.
With a bear?
With a bear. And kicks the door down. And Wolf's like, good God. And he sees this. And this time he's ready for him. And without even giving him a warning, he runs up to Wolf and pulls off Wolf's clothes.
Ooh.
Throws him naked in the snow.
Okay.
And he runs off with his clothes. Yeah. Wolf is so disoriented from this beating, he just wanders around the frozen north of Canada, all naked and disheveled. Luckily, we didn't establish this in the movie. Wolf actually has the ability to heal very fast.
Jeez. Jeez. Get sued.
Yep. So the snow doesn't, he just keeps regenerating. His body hair goes thicker. His hair in his head, because he's not cutting it down short, grows into 2 points. He also, did I mention he has retractable adamantium claws?
No.
Because he does. And one day, after wandering naked through the Northwest, he's found by James McDonald Hudson and his wife, Heather. and he becomes a member of Alpha Flight.
Jesus.
Yep. And he was a Wendigo. Yep. That's it. It's the secret history of the X-Men. Yeah, he was a Wendigo. White monster.
Don't give these ideas away because Marvel could use them and you wouldn't get any money, George.
I know, that'd be really terrible if Marvel used this and he became a hugely popular character.
You shouldn't give away their ideas.
Wolf, because he was so faced and so small, made small by that giant albino, he started referring to himself in a diminutive, and he became Wolverine.
Oh, Jesus. Should I stop the music yet? Did that already stop?
No, wait. Stop the music. Oh, and then the last scene is a bunch of dumb Star Trek aliens wandering off into the snow. Now you can stop the music.
Okay. Wow.
All right. We are such a good podcast.
That's it.
All right, Tim, did we get any mail? Did we get any mail?
We didn't.
No. Well,
did we get mail?
What's the next movie, Tim?
It's all clogged up.
It's all clogged up. People write to us. God damn it, write to us.
George, how crooked were the credits at the best start of that? Did you think of something yet?
They were so crooked that they said lock her up.
What?
I don't know.
They're so crooked.
You know me.
Even Donald Trump wouldn't hire them.
Yeah, there we go. Good one. All right. Take that, Eric Trump, again. Dissing your dad. So, Tim, what's the next movie we're watching, and which great state of the 50 nifty United States will be represented by said movie?
I love telling this to you. I love hanging this over your head. I like saying things like this. I like saying, George, this movie...
Dirt bike, dirty people.
I can find no Wikipedia page, number one.
Nice. Garbage.
And
where can I find this movie?
Well, I'll get there. We're celebrating the amazing state of Florida.
Oh.
So there is an opening scene of cars driving for quite a bit. But listen, the movie's only an hour and 14 minutes. That's why I picked it. Only an hour and 14 minutes. Oh, it's called...
What's the movie called, Tim? Yeah.
Honeymoon of Horror. It's on Tubi. It's from before the Beatles broke up. Sorry, George. It's the best way I can break it to you.
So it's black and white.
It's color.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, before the Beatles broke up. Okay.
Okay.
Available on Tubi.
Mine says Honeymoon of Horror on Tubi.
Yeah, there's another movie called Honeymoon of Terror. That's what I was asking.
Okay.
The new bride of a strange sculptor finds that many of her new husband's friends want her dead. Nice. I'm calling that. Oh my God, there's an actor in this named Snuffy Miller. I call that people. All right, here's my theory about not knowing anything about this movie. The sculptor kills people and makes them into statues.
Yeah.
I'm calling it right now, folks.
Don't ruin it. Follow us on Instagram, Seddy Bimco. Go to our website, see our blog. Join me on letterboxd and Threads and Blue Sky. There.
Yeah.
Email us at Seddy Bimco.
What was that noise?
At Seddy Bimco with an E at gmail.com.
At the end, at gmail.com. I've actually been to ask about this in all seriousness.
Uh-oh.
I wanted for 100th anniversary to give you the gift of Seddy Bimco without an E at the end.
Yeah.
It's Gmail, but it's already taken. So who took it?
Wow. I don't know.
Somebody has it. I assumed it was either you or John that you forgot the password.
Some sick person.
Some sick fuck. All right.
No, me. It could have been me. All right.
It probably was you and you forgot it. All right.
Is that it? Is that what we said? Yay, great movie. Right. Bye, everybody.
Hey. Bye, everyone.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
Earphones.
Yep.
My phone. What else? Spam is ringing on my phone. I gotta let that. Can you hear it?
No.
Okay.
Are you going to talk about Injun Joe too, since you're going down this path?
No.
Becky Thatcher, they're going to fake their own death and pretend to be at their funeral?
Come on, I don't want to get sued by Mark Twain.